Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. We have an amazing guest. Her name is Riana Malia, and she is an accomplished transformation coach with over 20 years of experience in Evolved Neurolinguistic Programming, ENLP, and quantum time release and advanced trauma-aware coaching. Today, in her episode, she shares her story of how she now helps women in post-divorce and also other women who are doing all the things, doing the work, reading the books, taking the yoga classes, but they just feel like something's missing. They are not able to actualize their full potential and they want more in life. And having a coach to help you with it is what she does with her clients. Her framework is the Quantum Pattern Protocol, which is amazing. She will get into it in this episode, so I won't tell you about it here. But she is incredible. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I do. You can find her at her website. I'm going to have all of this linked in my show notes. You can follow along with her on Instagram, which she has a great Instagram account. And I will also have that linked in the show notes. And I'm also really excited to share something that I have recently fallen in love with this fall. After having almost 100 episodes, I can't believe it's been so many, we have talked about the importance of sleep for health, for literally everything from brain health, weight loss, healthy skin. Our experts, that's one thing that they mention really consistently is the importance of sleep. So it's really important to me, especially in the last few years. I've really prioritized my sleep and I make sure I do everything I can to ensure that I get a good night's sleep, especially because I wake up pretty early most days. I recently tried a new sheet set from Cozy Earth, and I wanted to share it here because these sheets are amazing. It is made with really soft viscose derived from sustainable bamboo. It feels really luxurious, but my favorite feature is how the sheets are breathable, and that helps with temperature regulation. We have talked about on the show, it's really important that your body is cool when it's asleep, and it's just cozy and soft, and that is all going to help you get that quality sleep that we're all looking for. They also have a 10-year warranty, and the sheets become softer with each use, which that is huge. That is not like anything I've ever owned before. They were generous enough to share a 40% off code with Learning to Glow listeners. You can try out all of their products with this huge discount using code GLOW at checkout. I really want to try the pajamas next because that is something that I think would really make me feel cozy this fall as well. You can go to cozyearth.com/learning-to-glow and use code GLOW, GLOW, to get this exclusive discount of 40% off, which is a huge, huge discount. So thank you to them for sharing that with us. Now on to the show. I hope you enjoy this episode with Riana. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show today. And Riana Malia, thank you for being here. Welcome to Learning to Glow podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here with you.
I am so happy you're here. I'm so excited about this topic too, and to learn about your expertise because we're going to talk about a lot of things, but goal setting and why a lot of times like the more mainstream way of doing it is not always successful. So I'm very excited to talk about this. But first, if you could please just introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So as you said, my name is Riana Malia. I am a transformation coach, and my area of expertise is really that I am an evolved neurolinguistic programming practitioner. I am a quantum time release practitioner, and I'm master trained in trauma conscious coaching, transformation coaching. So I work with women, and it's kind of two specific groups of women. One is the successful woman in the prime of her life post-divorce who just knows that like there's just something, she's not fully there yet, right? She's done all the things. She's talked to her therapist and talked to her girlfriends and read the books and took in the courses and gave it time. But there's just still there's that part of her that's like, I'm just not healed. And getting, really wanting to actually do the work to be able to release all of that stuff so that she can attract the person that's actually worthy of her, because that's such a big thing, right? Going forward, you want to make sure you find your actual person. And then the other group of women that I work with often is the successful woman, not necessarily in that post-divorce situation, but she just knows that there's something more. She's meant for more. There's more meant for her life, or that she's had success in all of these areas, but there's just something that's keeping her back from being able to actually like step into highest and best and live the life that she was meant to live. So the framework for all of my work is applicable no matter who you are, in what area of your life. But it's just an honor to get to do this work.
Oh, I love this. I'm so excited. It's so great too with your clients who are like, I'm doing the things, I read the books, I'm doing my yoga, like all the check marks, but there's still like maybe something missing, or like there's something still that needs to be worked on. And sometimes you can't do that alone. So I love this. Do you have something that led you into doing this work in the first place? And like, do you have something in your past or like something that brought you to this type of work?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a series of things, really. I have been in the coaching space and personal development space for 2 decades, but there was definitely a catalyst that brought me to the point where I created what is my life's work, which is the quantum pattern protocol. And that is what I use to help initiate the healing and the transformation and the growth for my clients. So I had a divorce that was pretty intense and ended up so I had the post-divorce stuff, right? Like the sadness and the anger and the resentment and the fear and the failure and the shame and the guilt, all the stuff that happens usually typically after that divorce. So I, again, did all the things, therapy, friends, waiting, read courses, books, all of it. And it helped. It had some value, had some benefit. Of course, it all does. But I wasn't really healed. And I was still finding myself kind of stuck in this muck, in the same situations or circumstances. And it started to make sense to me that because sometimes when we're talking about the story and the drama over and over again, instead of helping, it actually keeps it all very much alive and well and in the forefront. And it's where we tend to see people get stuck in cycles and patterns of the same thing happening. Like if someone ever says to you, I don't know why I keep ending up in the same circumstances over and over again, that's, a big indicator. So then I had an instance where I actually moved my daughter, my mom, 2 cats and 2 horses across the country from Minnesota to California to take over a family business and kind of hope for or reestablish for a desired relationship with my father that had been, not there really throughout my life for various reasons. And essentially I got to California and realized very quickly that this family business was not actually viable and not really fully real. So now I had moved my child, my mother, horses across the country. I didn't know anybody here. And now I didn't have a business. And I had made a promise to Maddie, she was 9 at the time, that I would do this to her only once, right? I was only going to disrupt her life one time. So now I was here and everything that I thought I knew to be true was not. And I had to figure it out. So I could either crumble and go back to Minnesota, which we totally could have done, or keep my promise and get really resourceful and figure it out. So then I did that, right? I pivoted. I dove into another career, kept coaching, but, was building a real estate practice and then was coaching realtors on how to build their practice. And along the way, doing some more therapy work around this massive, breach of trust and some crazy stuff that I'll tell you another time that's like straight out of a bad Lifetime movie with my father's choices. And I realized that there was a moment where I was, writing letters and responding to stuff and feeling so much anger and sadness. And then I came across some work similar to the work that I've created, some quantum healing techniques, and being able to release that and use and experience alchemical forgiveness. And forgiveness is a hard topic, and it's such a trigger for so many of my clients because the that bristling feeling when you're like, I don't want to forgive them. If I forgive them, that means it's okay what they did to me, and it lets them off the hook. And understanding that that's not the case. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about taking back your power and your peace, and not continuing to drink the poison and hoping that they die, and getting back to being able to be present and experience the joy and the love and the delight and the abundance. But being able to do that in a way that did not require me to continue to go back into the traumatic events that caused the pain in the first place. And knowing that forgiveness and the releasing of all of that allowed me to be the person that I wanted to be and live the life that I wanted to live. And in a matter of weeks, there were parts of me that I didn't recognize in all the best way, which was so incredible versus like 3 years of just like talking about it in therapy over and over again. So there was my personal experience and then going, wow, I need to bring this to other women just like me in the world who, have been through stuff. I mean, if we've been on this planet longer than 15 minutes, you have some kind of trauma, right? And to be able to release it in a way that's quite quite peaceful and painless and joyous and loving and relatively fast, and be able to then step into what's meant for you was just such a gift.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I feel like that is the goal, right? Like when you're talking about hashing something out for years and not really feeling that release and not really having that pain and trauma like unblocked, and then you can 3 weeks later you're feeling so much better. So maybe we should start here. So tell us about this protocol that you have. Tell us what is quantum time release, and like
Yes.
how does it work?
Sure. So the protocol itself is really, there's 3 stages. It's kind of 9 steps. And this is whether you come to me for divorce or just you want to up level your life or whatever it is, this is the framework that we use for everything. So that first stage is all around awareness. And so first we assess, right? We do kind of a deep dive and we get really, really clear on like where you are and what you want and then what's underneath that. And oftentimes the things that are driving that really, really deep end up in an or a less, like powerless, unworthy, unloved, everybody leaves me, whatever the stories are underneath those deep-rooted limiting decisions. And then we get to excavate those core stories and beliefs that you're really super committed to right now, whether you're aware of them or not, that are keeping you stuck in these patterns and cycles that you don't want to be in. And then we're kind of like, okay, now we can dive in and do the real work. And we move into kind of that second stage, which is all around access. So we do a full dysfunction detox. So all the stuff that doesn't serve you anymore, the beliefs, the behaviors, the strategies, all of it, we get rid of it. And then you all of a sudden get really actually clear about who you really are. Because sometimes when we're in transition, whether that's as something as simple as, whether it's a divorce or becoming an empty nester or, pivoting professionally, whatever it is, there's been a role or roles or titles or that we've lived that has been our identity for so long. And all of a sudden when there's a transition, sometimes there's that question of like, I don't even know who I am really anymore in this different space or time in my life. So then we get then we kind of move into where we do QTR. So the quantum time release, which we'll come back to in just a second, and I'll really dive deep with you on that. But after we release all of this built up charge of however many years old you are, of anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame, and then all the limiting beliefs and limiting decisions that have formed as a result of the traumas and the experiences, then once we get to transmute that and like really future pace and create new relationship with those negative emotions, you get to actually be open to receive what's next and what's really ready for you with like a clean slate. So then we have all of this clarity, and then we actually create new habits, new behavior, new neurology, so that you have the skills to go with the knowledge. Because so many times I see people that have done work, but it's like this philosophical type, theoretical, like work, but you don't get the skills to go with the knowledge. So then it's like, great, now I know what to do. What the heck do I do with it? So if we're going to blow out all that old programming and all that old ways of being, we got to replace it with something else, because otherwise you end up in that maddening loop, right, of more of the same. So we're going to give you all of that so that you actually get to fall in love with yourself again and confidently hold boundaries and expertly communicate your needs and really deepen the richness in every single one of your relationships, which then leads us to the what's next. And so the goal piece, so implementing my quantum goal setting process to reverse engineer the goals, which is a very different experience for the brain than going from today, between now and December 31st, okay, what do I have to do next? And then once we actually reverse engineer them, so you have that blueprint, so you get to take back 100% control of your future and you know exactly what to do, then we install it on your timeline to ignite the reticular activating system in the brain. So that's kind of the whole protocol, so that we really start and we complete the whole process. So we're not leaving you with this like gaping hole of like, not being able to fill back in what we got rid of. So back to your question specifically about quantum time release. It is a multi-dimensional technique using energy work, timeline work, alchemical forgiveness, and the release of the negative emotions is what we're doing. So if you think about for a moment like a string, and if throughout your lifetime, anytime you had an experience or a significant emotional experience after the root cause one of anger, for instance, there's like a marble that goes on that string. And so it creates this gestalt. So something happens today that makes you feel angry. It's not just the charge of the today, so I'm 48 years old. So for me, it'd be the 48 years of the marbles built up behind it. That's that charge. So it adds to the intensity. It adds to the story, to the filters, to the experience. So in quantum time release, we get to release all that built up charge. So we're human. It's not that we're not going to experience anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame going forward, but it's a clean slate where all of the charge that's being held at a cellular level is gone. So the old stuff that we would carry into the new experience is gone. So then it's a different relationship. And we get to future pace of if we go out into an unspecified time in the future and it had happened in the past, there would have been an unwarranted or inappropriate anger. Tell me what happens instead. So in that space of starting to create new neurology and new neural pathways around what that would be for us instead of unwarranted anger, well, I would blah, blah, blah. Great. So then we start to install that. And you get the true, like the learnings that you needed to get, and we get to kind of anchor that in. So it's really, really powerful and really magical. And everybody has different experiences somewhat in the sense that it's your own, but just that feeling afterwards of just like such a weight release. And a lot of my clients will experience like ideas about stuff that they never imagined that they would even consider, or just a lightness, or just the charge around stuff that was really heavy and consuming them is gone.
Oh, I know. It sounds like that unblocking. I feel like a lot of people are holding on to things. Now, just so I'm clear, is this something that is their memories that they have, that their things that happen, it's all conscious, or are there like some stuff in the unconscious that they're like, I didn't even know I was mad about this, or people are really good at pushing things down. So explain that a little bit so make sure I'm clear.
I'm so glad you asked. So just to get let's talk about the conscious and unconscious for a second. So if you think about your body, everything from the neck up is your conscious mind. It is our critical faculties. It's everything that we know. It's all the things that make us successful. And it's our goal setter, and we use it all day long. And it's 10%. So everything from the neck down, the rest of your body, is your unconscious mind. So if our conscious is 10% and it's our goal setter, then our unconscious, the other 90% of our mind, is the goal getter. And it's the general, it's the operating system. It's the literal library of everything you've ever experienced in your entire life. The most amazing thing about quantum time release is it's a completely unconscious process. So you're not unconscious. You're very relaxed and your eyes are closed and you're in theta relaxed mode, and you're listening to my voice and you're following instructions and you're just kind of letting your imagination open up. But we are not looking for any conscious memory. In fact, it won't allow it. We're looking for the root cause of anger, and then sadness, and then fear, and then guilt, and then shame. And it's nothing you have conscious memory of. So we're not going to reinstall any trauma. We're not going back to some memory of something that happened when you were 5 that made you sad. And I will ask, so we tap into the unconscious and we'll ask questions, and everyone's like, whoa, that's crazy. But I'll ask you, if your unconscious mind were to know, and it does, the root cause of anger, so that it can be easily and effortlessly transmuted and bring you into a greater state of wholeness today, would it be before, during, or after your birth? Would you know? And just like that, something will come up. And if it's before, then I'll ask you if it was in the womb, or if it was in a past life or past generation, and you'll say, and then great. If it was during, fine. If it was after, I'll say, is it between 0 and 7? And you'll give me a number. That's the hard one, because when it's after, the conscious mind wants to come in and be like looking for something to make it make sense, looking for something that happened when you were 6 that made you angry. But That's like exactly not what we're doing. So that's when I say when it's painless and peaceful, we're not going back into any memory of anything that you are consciously aware of. So there's no pain, there's no trauma, there's no reinstalling something you might have forgotten. Like that is the opposite of what this work is. So it's not, I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that. It can be like super traumatizing to all of a sudden, you're kind of going along and all of a sudden, if you're forced to go back into a memory, either that you hadn't thought about in a long time or maybe never had, you have that full reaction. You feel it. And it's like real. It's like it's all of a sudden it's alive again in your body. And that's exactly what we don't want, because we don't need that to heal. In fact, oftentimes it's what's hindering healing in a lot of circumstances.
I mean, it makes so much sense to me that kind of constantly rehashing something over and over could be a block of its own. Like I'm constantly upset because I'm constantly talking about this thing, and
Right.
maybe it feels good in the moment to like vent or hash it out with your friend or a therapist, but like you're right, it's like I'm back right there in that spot that I don't want to be in, but like repeatedly all the time. So when your clients are coming to you, what are they seeking? Are they like, this is an issue I'm having and I can't let go, or this is a situation in my life that I can't let go? Or are they more like, I've done all the things and I want to get to the next level? You said in the beginning it's kind of like a mixture of both, but what specifically are they coming for as far as their goals and what their wants and things like that?
So it's funny. It kind of comes down to this. Whatever they come to me for, whether it's that like healing and wanting to find their greatest love, like really wanting to find that person that is worthy of them, and they keep attracting the same person, and they'll say, I keep dating my ex-husband over and over again in the same body, or I keep dating the same people, and what's wrong with me, and why can't I, like, why do I keep doing this? And so that's like one person. And then the other person, like we said, is like, not in the divorce situation and has, success in a lot of areas of her life, but there's that something in her gut, in her soul, whatever you want to call it, that's like, I'm stuck and I don't even know exactly what is holding me back or keeping me stuck, but I know that this is what I want, or I don't even know what I want, but I know that there's something there for me. But no matter what happens, is the amazing thing about this work is like, you could come to me for one, but it's going to affect every area of your life, every relationship in your life, every fiber of your being. Because when we do work like this, it isn't that, if you come to me because you want to have like a professional pivot and up level your career and get, figure out your next steps and orchestrate your dream job, which I had a client that did both of these things, that's amazing. But guess what? We're also going to heal what needs to be healed fully. And all the other stuff that you may or may not be consciously aware of, it's going to get healed anyway. So we're going to get to dive in and take care of it all. So I have a client, if I can share just like an interesting story, who came to me. She's this amazing, vibrant woman. Imagine she's a full Italian New Yorker. And she was in the middle of a divorce. She has kids that she loves. She's trying to figure out her career situation. She was angry. She was very negative. She'd also been dating and having these experiences where she did the same thing over and over again. And it was, she was so like caught up in it all. And 4 weeks in, she said to me, my friends are literally asking if I'm medicated or taking drugs because they don't know what the hell has happened to me. Because she's like, they're like, you're so much more calm and you're so much nicer and you're so much happier. And then there was all these, like how she was having, like could actually relate with her ex-husband, and how she was able to get clear about her values, her wants, her needs, her desires, and use that tool to make sure she wasn't ignoring all the red flags and going forward and doing the same things. So that was like life-changing. And for her children, they're like, this is like, Mom, you're so like, this is amazing. But then we reverse engineered her dream job, which didn't exist, on a Monday. And on Thursday, she called me. She's like, I couldn't even text you. She's like, you're not going to believe this. I just got an offer for the job that I wanted that didn't exist 3 days ago.
Wow.
So she came to me for one thing. She got it all. And, it's just, it's so magical. So one of my top values is I'm a magnet for miracles. And I love to teach other people how to be the same, because when you can shift the energy and the focus and how you show up in the world, it's amazing how quickly it all realigns to actually support this new version, this new, like, most empowered version of you that's actually living in accordance to your highest values, which is part of the work that we do of figuring out what that is. So that if you're living in your highest values, the most successful people in the world are living in their highest values and constantly releasing trauma. So getting clear on what that is, so that you get to make powerful, clean yes and clean no decisions, and not get stuck in the middle of the devil of maybe, which is exhausting. And decision fatigue is like the biggest stopper of momentum and joy, because we just get stuck in that space.
Yes. Oh, I wrote that down. Magnet for miracles. I love that so much. That's so cool. You talked about anger. Like, that's kind of one thing that you have mentioned that is kind of a side effect maybe from hanging on to these things and things that you've been through, traumas and things like that. Has, in your experience, have you seen other things? I've heard like you can have a block and it can keep you stuck in certain ways, like even with your health, like maybe weight, like maybe people are hanging on to weight because they're not letting go of something. And there's like a real energetic, spiritual piece to this. I've wondered that because I think, there's people who are like, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like super healthy in a lot of ways, but I'm stuck here. Or like, I don't know if there's any other examples or if you've even heard of the weight one or seen the weight one, but I'd love to hear about that if that is something you've seen.
Absolutely. And I've actually had, that's so funny you bring that up. I've had a couple of people reach out to me recently who are in that space where they really work with women, whether it's at any stage of life or this perimenopausal situation that we're all dealing with, but that have said to me, there's so many women that could benefit from doing work with you first. So then when they come to me, we can actually release the physical weight. So because with me, we can release the energetic weight. And what you said is so, so, so true, Jess. So when we talk about having all of that stuff stored, so people think of memory as being in the brain, but memory is cellular. And all of the negative charge of all that stuff we were talking about, that's stored at a cellular level. And we see things, I see things over and over again. I see cycles and patterns and behaviors that never get broken, lifetimes. I see autoimmune disorders. I see anxiety, overwhelm, depression, fatigue, illness, injury, disease. All of these things manifest in the body because that is not being released. That energetic weight that's so painful and so blocking and so stifling and so dysfunctional and so holding you back with this, like, in this grip of all of that, like, and to be able to release it. I see it so frequently. People that have struggled for so long with a health issue or the physical release of weight, and then being able to have success there and have it be pretty effortless is really magical.
That's good to know because there's people who I have talked to, they're like, what haven't I tried? What haven't I done? And it's like, I've done so much, but yeah, I'm still stuck. And so this is
Yes.
such a great place to go. And this is not a place that you're going to hear from your doctor. You need to do this work. This is something we have to do on our own and like look into because it's so real that this could be happening inside of us. So one of my next questions, which I'm kind of excited to talk about, and you explained it a little bit, was how our conscious mind, tell me if I'm saying this right, is like that 10% that's like goal setting, and then the 90% is the goal getting, right? So can you talk to us more about that? Like, if you say there's a list of goals that people, it's January 1st, 2025, and we're like, okay, it's time to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to make this much more money. And then like the next year comes and we're like, shit, we didn't get to any of this. So talk to us about how this process is so much different than
Yes.
the typical way.
Yes. Okay. So before we do that, I want to give a little other pre-frame, because this is really, I think this is such an important part of all of it.
Okay.
So our thoughts create everything, and that's just fact. But our thoughts create like mixes with, so we think about stuff and we goes and we filter it, right? The model of communication that I teach, So there's like a gazillion bits of information trying to come in every second, and we can't handle that. So we break it down to like 153 bits, and we delete and we distort and we generalize in order to like bring it in. And then it goes through all of our own filters and all of our internal representations, and it mixes with our physiology. That's what's happening, in the body. And then that becomes our state, which becomes our behavior. So all of that. But if you think about our thoughts every single day as human beings, we think between 65,000 and 85,000 thoughts every day. 90% of those thoughts, Jess, are recycled, meaning they're the same thoughts you thought yesterday and the day before and the week before and the month before. And for sure at 3 a.m. when you wake up and your mind decides that we need to replay every conversation that we've ever had or haven't had. And here's all the things that you didn't think about that you should have done. And blah, 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 blah. Like it's just over and over again. And the problem with that is that 75% of those recycled thoughts are negative. And I will have a lot of clients that will push back and they'll say, no, like I've done a lot of mindset work. Like I'm a positive thinker. I'm like, okay, let's do a little analysis. And they're like, oh, because here's the thing. Our brains are designed and wired, and we don't even realize it. But really, mostly what we're thinking about are all the things we don't want. I don't want to have all this weight anymore. I don't want to be in this financial position. I don't want to be lonely anymore. I don't want to do this by myself. I don't want to be in another relationship where I am not valued and cherished and seen and loved and adored. And I don't want to have the same freaking fight with my mom, sister, colleague, whatever. And the brain, just like the unconscious mind, doesn't understand the clarifier. It just knows you're really freaking focused on this stuff. So we're going to just keep giving it to you. Mm-hmm. So that's a really important thing to understand. And so it's no matter what circumstances, people dating the same person, people having the same issues and not being able to get healthy, people having the same issues with work. And it's the fastest way that I can change your reality. And so I teach that process very early on. And it's a very precise process to flip that focus so that we start actually attracting the things and the opportunities and the resources that we want in our life instead of more of what we don't want. So that's like piece one. Then going into that whole conversation around goals and what makes it different. So a couple of things. Everybody in the world's heard of SMART goals, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the standard. Everybody knows how to do a SMART goal. So simple and measured and timely and all the things, right? So in my world, we do smarter goals. So we add an E and an R. The E is for energy and emotion. The R is for reverse engineering and igniting the reticular activating system. So the reason that this process is so powerful and why it's different. So we come up with a goal together and then we format it in that goal. So it's simple. It's a couple sentences. It's super timed. And when I say realistic, hear me when I say this is not to play small. This needs to scare you, needs to make you nauseous. It needs to be like, oh my God, this is going to push me. When I say realistic, I mean, if you said to me, okay, on December 31st, 2024 or sooner, I'm going to be on a rocket on the way to Mars to go do a mission. Well, you can't because you have to have specific training or you'll die. So that's not realistic, right? Or if you said you were going to be a brain surgeon in the next 6 months or sooner and you'd never gone to med school, not possible. But realistic in the sense that it doesn't require something else, right, for you to be able to accomplish it. But when we add the energy and the emotion and the reverse engineering and the reticular activating system, it changes the game. So let's pretend we've created a goal for you. It could be a 3-month goal, 5-year goal, it doesn't matter. And so we're going to format it in that I'm on this date or sooner, I'm celebrating whatever it is. And that kind of goes on the top of this form that I've created. And then there's a line under that is, okay, well, what happened? How do you know? How do you know you achieved it? So if it's monetary, for instance, somebody says, I'm going to generate this much in my new business. Okay, how do you know? I opened my bank account and I saw the number was there. And then what has to happen just before that? And what has to happen just before that? And we go all the way back to today or the day that we're doing the exercise together. And when we do it that way, we don't miss any steps. It's every single micro step backwards. And then when we have that and we have this full blueprint, anytime that life comes at us, which it will, or we're overwhelmed, or we're spiraling, or it's been a day or a week, and we're like, I don't even know what to do next. All you have to do is look down, because every little tiny micro step in the exact order in which you need it to happen is there for you. So once that's done, and it's a completely different experience than going from today to the goal date, then we go, so we've done timeline work. So we've already done your quantum time release at this point. So we're going to go back on your timeline. We're going to go out into that date, and we're going to experience every sense of you feeling what it's like to achieve that goal. What do you see? What do you hear? What's around you? You're going to step into the picture, make it a movie, and adjust the picture so it's the perfect color and saturation and the perfect pitch and the tone. And then once you experience all of the emotions and the senses, we're going to step back out and we're going to make it a still snapshot. So now you see your body in the picture, and then we're going to install it on that date. And then everything on your timeline can reorganize. But what happens is the brain, it ignites the reticular activating system in the brain, which is like this little bouncer in your brain that's constantly looking for what we need, right? So that it can recognize and be trained to be looking for the people, the resources, the opportunities to make sure that that goal becomes a reality. It's like if you decided you were going to buy a white Lexus, and then all of a sudden, everywhere you see when you're driving around, you see a white Lexus. It's the same thing. Or if you're at an airport and it's super busy and there's, all these announcements going on, but if somebody said your name, you'd hear it right away, because your RAS is always trained to listen for your name. So it just changes the whole structure of how goal setting goes. And so you've already experienced it. And we know that the brain doesn't know the difference between something that's fully visualized and felt with emotion versus something that already happens. It's why athletes visualize the shot over and over again. Or like when Michael Phelps swam his last Olympics race, and he had visualized that swim so many times. And in the first 4 seconds of that swim, his goggles came off. He was blind. He couldn't see. He won that race because he knew how many strokes to the wall, because he'd swam it so many times in his mind. So it's that same kind of concept of the brain knew already how to swim that swim for him because he'd done it. Your brain knows what it's going to feel like experiencing that goal happening. And so those neural pathways are being formed, and then everything lines up. And you start to recognize the things rather than not seeing them. They were going to happen anyway, but you're not going to see them and pay attention to it.
So it's like you're training your brain what to look for and pay attention to, where it wouldn't be doing that before. And then is that the same? I mean, as far as it's kind of in a visual sense right now, but is that the same thing that you do with those thoughts too? Are you training people to change the thoughts that they're receiving, or those, the limited beliefs that we talked about? Is that something that we can make the brain aware of and sort of shift it?
100%. Because the minute that we can start to, so we have to have a pattern interrupt. So typically we do this process together, and then I have you wear a rubber band for 3 days, and I have you snap it every time you find yourself either in the moment of down a negative rabbit hole or spiral, or if you just don't feel very good in your body and you go, ugh, what was I just thinking about? I promise you 99% of the time it was something that you don't want. So what we do is we create 2 lists. We create an away wall and a toward wall. Your away wall, so if you close your eyes right now and you think about if you had to pick 2 walls. So you're sitting in a room and everything that you don't want in your life is on one wall. And then everything that you do want, hopes, dreams, goals, wishes, desires, is on another wall. Is your away wall for you to your left or to your right or in front of you or behind you?
To the right.
Your away wall is to your right? Okay, so that's the wall where we would make a list of all the things you don't want, that you don't want more of, that you don't want again, that you don't want ever. On the other wall, the other list, is your toward wall, and we make a full list of everything that you want in every area of your life. And for 3 days, wearing this rubber band, and you're snapping it, and I'll have people check in with me once a day. I'll get pictures of a very red wrist. So I'm like, you need to snap it like a son of a gun. It needs to hurt, because it has to interrupt the brain and go, oh, stopping. What are we doing? And then flipping the focus. And the fastest way to do that is simply think about something on that toward list, like switch your focus of your thoughts from what you don't want to what you do. Think about something that you're grateful for in the moment. Could be the tiniest thing. Could be, the kitten that I see on the street, or the sun is shining, or I'm breathing fresh air today, whatever it is. And then lastly, you can, if in that moment, if you're really down and you're having a hard time pulling yourself out of it, I would ask you to ask yourself in this moment, like, who can I serve? And it could be a thought, an intention, a prayer, a text. It could be carrying up the neighbor's trash can and putting it in their garage for them. Something for someone else. And again, it doesn't have to be a big gesture. It could literally just be a thought, taking a moment and just sending a loving thought to your best girlfriend or whatever. But those things train the brain, and it happens in seconds. So this is not like you're going to have to sit and spend hours of your day like doing this, but the faster you become aware of it, then all of a sudden what we see is less snapping of the rubber band. And so, catching yourself faster, pulling yourself out of it faster, and being able to increase that frequency and vibration so that you get to call in the people that are a match for you at that high level and not in that low, yucky, low frequency vibration of emotion, which is where we attract the people that we don't want in our life.
Oh, those are such good tips. I mean, it's so funny how huge and emotion changing doing something small for someone else makes you feel. Like, it makes you feel good. Like, it's incredible how quick and how easy that can flip a switch. And I love the rubber band. I think some of the hardest part of this is realizing that we have so many things we're not paying attention to that's coming in, and so many thoughts that aren't serving us. And I feel like you're getting such a head start when you can pay attention to that, because you said, thoughts are everything. And what happens in our life is that it literally starts from there. So is there anything else you want to share with us about all of this before we make you tell us where we can find you?
Just that it really is the honor of my life to do this work. And, it's not just about us doing the work. I wanted Maddie's future and life to be different. And in order to make sure that it was different for her, I had to do the work and make it different for me. So what I love about this is it's not just about us or, doing the work. It's like it has such a ripple effect on our families, our friends, our communities, and our world, because it's really how we can change the world, right? Is we do our work, we become this best, highest version of us. And we get to, love on people more, like less of this, it's like, it's so exhausting to be so caught up in all the negative. And, you can be happy or you can be right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be right for a really long freaking time, because, how could these people have done this to me? And how could blah, blah, blah. And it was, like, oh, I could get a lot of people to agree with me how horrible it was. And I was miserable. Like, I want to be happy. I want to be present to the joy and the beauty and the fun and the travel and my family and my husband. I mean, 11 months ago, I married the greatest love of my life. I never thought that was going to happen for me on the other side of this work, right? So I guess the point is that no matter where you are and what you're feeling, and I don't care what you've already done, like, it's possible for you. Because between now and dead, really, like, what do you want? What really matters?
Right. Well, congratulations, by the way, on your marriage.
Thank you.
And yeah, oh my gosh, I resonate with this so much with just the feeling of, it's not fair. I should be mad, and like what you said, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's like, It's really not the way you want to live if you're searching for happiness and a fulfilling life. That's not it. It's not how you get there. And it is like just doing this work on yourself, what a ripple effect it has. I think when you do feel helpless because there is lots of bad in the world, it does, you know what? It starts with us, and that goes a long way. So please share with us where everyone can find you and how they can work with you, and what how to work with you as well.
Absolutely. So rianamalia.com is the website, and there's a ton of information there. rianamalia.com/gifts. Gifts are my love language, so I love to give things to people, and you're going to find some amazing resources. In fact, what I was just talking with you about, like the away and the toward, there's a resource on there and it says post-divorce transformation, the power of thought, post-divorce transformation. It's like a mini masterclass where I teach you the whole thing that I just started to share with you. So that's there. Falling in love with myself again, which is an incredible journal for anybody, is there. A post-divorce dream life visualization journal, like whether it's post-divorce or not, like if you just really want to like create this life, like really get clear about that. And then values-driven decisions, like what they are, why it's important, and how to be able to live a life where you can make clean decisions. Clean yes, clean no, powerfully own it all. It's all there. Also, I'd love to just offer your listeners the ability to have a call with me, my gift, to just have a conversation about where you are and really what you want, and how I can help shift and just kind of serve at the highest level and make some recommendations. And working with me, there's a couple of options. If you're here in the San Francisco Bay Area, I have the Brilliance Brunch coming up, which is a gathering for women. And then I'm doing a workshop in November on this exact topic of post-divorce transformation and becoming a magnet for miracles and living your hell yes life. And then I work with people all over the world. So we can talk about that. I do one-on-one. And then I also have an amazing, I'm opening 10 spots for 10 incredible women who want to do this work in a hybrid situation, starting in the new year. But if you come into that space now, you get one-on-one work with me between now and then, which is really only reserved for VIP days. So it's a huge bonus to get to have some intensive time with me before that starts. So lots of ways to work with me. I also have a beautiful private Facebook community called the Inner Circle of Love. Okay. And would love to invite all of you to be in that space. And then, of course, on the website and everywhere else, you'll see to sign up for my newsletter, because I share a lot. I share a lot in that as well every week.
Okay, perfect.
And of course on the socials, Instagram at Riana Malia, Facebook Riana Malia.
Okay, I'll link all of that. I'll go follow you today as well.
Thank you.
And this was amazing. Thank you so much for the brunch. Sounds so fun. I wish I was closer. I'm in Southern California, but yeah.
Come hang out with us.
I know that
would be so great.
I would love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. It's been amazing.
It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.